Hey world. So this week I'm doing something a little experimental. I've got some patterns over here and I am going to trace them to achieve this panel bodice thing with what looks like a built-up boat neck. These sleeves are cut on, so this is like a dolman sleeve. Um, I don't know if it would be best to do a seam up top or on the side. It almost looks like there is no side seam, but we'll see how this plays out. I've already drafted the circle skirt because it's super easy. It's gathered, so I doubled the skirt, the waist circumference, and so that's over here. Waist circumference is 50, so that you would gather it down to 25, and then regular old circle skirt, so nothing super intricate, but here are the patterns that I'm going to trace over to figure out this bodice. So let's get started. I need a new layer just so I don't screw up anything on this layer. I'm going to lock this layer. Okay. The first panel I'll need is the center front panel that's along this bust line dart here. So what I'm going to do, and especially just because I want this to fit nicely, there is a lot of curve here. There's not a lot of wrinkling, so it doesn't look like it's a looser bodice. So I think I'm going to start here and trace my contour lines to make sure that this ends up being a very nicely fitted bodice. And so there's that. I need to change some of my lines, so I'm going to make this back down to 1 point, so even though it's hard to see, I'll just change that to, let's do pink. Pink's easy to see. Okay, so there's that one. And then the top one, this to me looks like it's a shoulder tip princess line. If we zoom in really close, if it was a regular like mid shoulder, it would come from here, but it looks shoulder tip. So I'm going to do this center panel here with our built up neckline by tracing with my pen tool. Sorry if I missed saying that a second ago. Let me nudge this guy out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so starting here, bust point. Usually I don't draft darts directly to the bust point just because you get the high beams issue, unless you want the bullet bra shape, but I usually don't. Okay, so right now I'm just getting the regular bodice shapes. I'm going to follow all of the contour lines as best I can, just because I really want this shape to fit well. I guess maybe I'll ignore the center ones here. I don't need that much removed because it's not strapless. Okay, so there's that one. And then to make this built up boat neck thing, I'm going to say this looks like mid shoulder, so it's probably connected. These are two different bodices. I think I'm going to try to blend them though. So let's do mid shoulder for the built up neckline, and we'll do mid shoulder for this keyhole in the back. So I think probably best practice is here. Let's get rid of the neckline curve, and then from this anchor, we're going to come up, and it's probably going to be pretty tall. I'm not sure exactly how tall I would make that, but from there, I think I would just extend something to that effect. It seems really odd. I've never done a built-up neckline before, so I'm not really sure how to go about it. But something like that, in theory, would sit in an interesting way. Let's throw some curve to that point. I don't hate it. I don't know what it would look like. I imagine that this part would wrinkle, especially because it would only be sewn from here to the shoulder tip. This is all left open, so it would need a facing in order for it to be finished. The back as well is going to need a facing. But otherwise, I think that's pretty well done. It looks like a sleeve, which is hilarious. Yeah, so then that would attach here. And you've got center front panels. Now to do the arm side panel thingy that's happening there. So I threw a sleeve pattern here that has a 4-inch length from the underarm, so it's a pretty short sleeve. This one might be 3 inches, whatever, but it doesn't matter. So let's trace over this. We're going shoulder tip for this pattern because of the way that the pattern looks. And then I'm going to come in through here, grab these points, making sure that my fit is going to be nice. I haven't even finished this pattern, and I already know that I would love to try it if I can somehow get to a large format printer. Okay, so here's something weird that happens. To make a dolman sleeve, you have to kind of ignore your side seam and your sleeve and sort of split the difference. So I think I'm going to go here and then come around to there. Let's see. That's not too bad. This is going to be really awkward to sew, however, so I think I'm just going to make this a bigger curve, which will work better because then it'll fit this side seam and the sleeve seam better. Yeah, that's a nice smooth curve there. And so we've got the shaping from our contour panels. I don't really think we need to take any more out of these pieces. I think this will work just fine. So there's that one. I'll have to walk this to make sure that these patterns actually match. And let me just line them up so you can see what I'm doing outside of the black original bodice. So there's that part there. That was surprisingly easy, actually. I might start tracing over pattern pieces just because it just seems like it goes faster. Okay, so same thing for the back. The back on this one has 2 panels at the center back here, 2 panels from the shoulder back with a very wide opening, and then the same side panel sleeve thing that's all cut on, so it's like a dolman sleeve. I suppose you could add in a diamond shape gusset under the arm for ease of movement, but these wrinkles here make me believe that there isn't one. This just kind of happens because of the way the arm is lifted up. It sort of can't really move, so it just creates those wrinkles. And then, oh, there is some gathering here, so I will flare that as well. But let's come over here and start getting this going. And I think for that center back piece, I'm just going to go for the height of the dart. So let's start at this dart point and get this. Move this up. Want straight lines. Okay, so that's already done, which is brilliant. For the center back panel, there's going to be one from the shoulder tip and one from the mid shoulder because of the way I drafted the front to make it match. So I need this distance from this point to this point. Let me zoom in so we can see it. I am going to use my document info, which you probably can't see because of the way that my computer records things. But if you do document info and make sure that objects are selected, it'll show you what this length is, and it's telling me it is 2.4429 inches. So I'm going to delete that just because we don't need it. I'm going to come over here. I want to draw a box that is 2.449, whatever I said, basically 2.5 inches. And then I'm going to line it up to the shoulder tip, and we're going to rotate it just to see where it lands. Looks like before the dart, which is kind of annoying because that means this is kind of going to be really short, but it is what it is. So then, let's see, what do I want to do? Actually, because I have the width I need, we're going to delete those parts, which expands the shape, which sometimes will pop up here, but you can't see it. And now I'm just going to trace here to there. I don't want it to close it. Here to there, and here to there. And so now we've got this strip, which I think will work. It is gathered, and so I'm going to want to extend this I do want to know what the width of this shape is. And my document info says 3.6, so I want to double that. Doubling is a good rule of thumb for gathers. You can do as much or as little as you want, but I think doubling is the lowest amount that you can actually see. So right now I'm scaling this, I'm just doubling it with my transform tools. And so now we've got the line that was there, but twice as long. And so I'm using this as a guideline, lined up to here. And I think it'll be fine to just extend this over. So you'll know to gather each side back piece here to fit the center back. So there's nothing really I need to mark, which is nice. I want to come back in here and check out, there's this awkwardness happening with the shoulder. I don't think it's going to matter really, especially if I line them up well enough. Although I like that, so I would prefer this line here as opposed to when I had it, what is that, the width of a hair away from where it was. I just think that works better. But, okay, so now what I'm going to do is grab those and scoot them over there. And same thing I did on the front, we are going to trace our sleeve to get our dolman shape. And this is just going to be a straight line. I probably should curve that point a little bit. I think I will, actually. Let me trace this out first. Get this. Again, split the difference. I'm sort of just eyeballing it. And then going across like this until that line matches the side seam. And then, ooh, see? That looks real nice. Yeah. Actually, this side curve could be a little less just to allow for more sleeve width, but I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to use my convert anchor point tool up here, which you probably also can't see, and it just gives it a smooth curve. I don't love that so much, but because it's going to make the back a little loose. That's a little better. I feel like this is going to end up being a point, like right here. But maybe I can scoot this a little bit. This I don't mind. Yes, it doesn't actually match the exact lines we have here, but I don't think this matters because of the looseness of the dolman. So actually, I can even move a little more, or I can change the shape of this curve a little more. I would rather it be like that, but I feel like this is going to be gross. It's actually not that far off, so maybe I should just stop worrying about it. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, so I actually think those are all the patterns we need. However, to make the back sleeve easier to manage, I could connect these guys and rotate this, and this would be a single cut on. That means weird things as far as grain lines go, which could be a challenge. Regardless, it's going to have a side seam, and I didn't think about that until I drafted these curves, because those have to fit each other. These have to be separate panels, but they could come from here, and it all just depends, because if you cut the back on straight grain this way, then you get a bias up here. If you cut the front on straight grain, you get a bias on the back. Well, I don't think I'm going to do it that way. So these will just have to be separate panels with a shoulder seam. And then I almost want this one to be cut on bias just to get that lovely ripple. But it does seem silly. It seems like you wouldn't need it. So maybe that is just what it's going to be, which is fine. So honestly, that did not take nearly as much effort as I thought it would. We've got our funky center front with a built-up neckline. Actually, I want to transform, reflect, copy, just to see if this is a nice smooth shape, and it is. That's so funny. It looks just like a button-down shirt sleeve, the sleeve cap being here. I'm not really sure what else to do about that, but I think it'll work. And then the anchor, which would have a notch so that you can make sure that you connect this to here and then have a facing for the rest of it. And then, yeah, wild. That was a lot faster than I thought it would be. So now what do I want to do? Let's take all of this and scoot it down so we can see what's happening. And if I sort of just match up each of my patterns by using the anchor and dragging until it matches the other anchor, I think I can get a fairly good read on the truth of my patterns. And I say it that way because when you adjust the length of your patterns to match, you call it truing. So these are fairly true. This is a funky dart, so I might take these two anchors and curve them. Nice little fisheye there. Same with these guys. Want to smooth it out. Brilliant. And then, do I want to smooth out the bust point? I don't think I need to. Excuse me, because actually I probably do. Let's see what happens. You know, I would say that I hate that, but I don't. Like, you know, busts are curved, and so I think that's actually a really good curve. I mean, it's for a very small bust. This is probably something a little less than a B cup. So I don't know if, I mean, all I would do to change that is just to drag these handles down a little bit to accommodate for a fuller bust. Do that just a little bit. But this way, you get these two. Let's also curve those with the A tool, and then shift to grab them both, and just make them smooth. Curves are great. What was I saying before that? Oh yeah, no. So this would come in close above the bust, accommodate for the fullness of the bust, and then come in close beneath the bust, which I think is important for fit. Same thing. Actually, no. Back here, this one's already curved, and then these 2 points could be curved here, but because they're separate, I don't think it matters. I mean, I could try grabbing those two and making them a little curved. Whoa, see, no, bad news. That did not work remotely as planned. Ignore that. This will be fine. This is smooth enough. I almost want to shift this gather a little bit, though. Oh, let's delete. That was my guideline. Can go away. And if you just grab an anchor point here, shift grab an anchor point there, and then nudge with your arrow tools. I like this more. I like splitting the difference of my gathers just because then I feel like the grain line makes more sense. So I think, yeah, my grain line for this would be straight up and down here. Same with the back, straight up and down there. And then you would need a short zipper, shorter than you would for a normal cocktail dress, because you only need one for this length plus maybe like 7 or 8 inches into the skirt. So there wouldn't actually be a whole lot of zipper there, which is kind of nice. I'm drafting a dress, or drafted a dress for my sister's wedding, and the zipper that I need goes from the back neck all the way down to fullest hip, so it's going to be something like a 22 or 25 inch invisible zipper, which are hard to find. So yeah, but now my favorite part. We're going to select all of these. We're going to do object path, offset path, give it a 1/2 inch seam allowance, preview it just to make sure that things are closed. It looks like our center front panel here is not complete, so we're going to hit cancel. And then I'm going to go through and just do click, drag, and see if I can't join any of my pieces. And you'll be able to tell that when the join up here under window turns white. There it was that corner there. So we'll do that. And now these should properly get seam allowance. Object path, offset path, 1/2 inch, preview. Boom. Yeah, so that looks great. And all of these have seam allowances because nothing is cut on fold on this pattern. I've never done a dolman like this before. This is very odd, but kind of cool to me. The biggest thing for this is that I should have done this way. Control-Shift-G, get rid of those. I need to make sure that the length of this curve can match the back armhole curve, armpit curve, whatever you call that, can match the front. So I've direct selected and copied these, and using my document info, the front curve ends up being 10 3/4-ish. The back curve is 11 3/4-ish. So that's a problem. And I think I'm going to practice with this. So I'm joining these 2 points here. I think if I grab this and extend it a little, it'll change the length. There we go. That's pretty close. I want this over a little more. That's too far. Another option, I suppose, I could take this back here, transform, not scale, not scale. I won't reflect. And then we'll do it that way. Grab this, join that. Let's make it green so we can see as compared to this. I'm going to place it at my side seam anchor and then rotate it like I like to do. Oh, and see, that's a problem too, is because it gets really tall if I do it that way. I don't want to do it that way. Let's line up our anchor point. Where'd you go? There you are. With this anchor point. I just saw it. There it is. I'm going to rotate these. See, that worries me. Something there is not quite right. I almost want to make the back armhole smaller than make the front armhole bigger, because I know that these lengths should be the same. And by that I mean the length of the sleeve opening, or the width of the sleeve opening. It's hard to tell when it's this way. Yeah, so that's the same. So I don't want to make this any shorter, and I don't want to make this any longer. What happens if I make it so that the back armhole is not so deep? Let's grab these and scoot them. A join, click, drag, join with your A direct selection tool. Transform, reflect vertical, hit OK. And now, wow. See, this makes me super nervous. It's really short. And I can rotate it to make it match, but then we have this problem. All of that excess. I'm not super sure what to do there. You either get really too short or really too long. Well, we know for a fact that the side seam matches. That's supposed to be the right length. Let's walk this a little bit. Actually, it would help if it was correctly lined up with its friend. There we go. I think the back curve just needs to come in a little. I might shoot myself in the foot doing this, but I'm going to scoot this more like that. Let's see. I mean, I don't hate the shape that it came up with. It's still a little too long, so I think I might do that again. and just sort of scooch it down. It's going to be a little odd sewing a harsher curve into a smoother curve, but I don't really care. And that's pretty close. Okay, so I think we're going to leave it like that. You can get rid of this, or that, this guy. Okay. Now we can re-add object path, offset path, preview, complete shapes. Brilliant. Okay. Okay, now we've got center front with built up, center front under panel, as you can see there. Nothing cut on fold, so seams on everything. Side front with your sleeve and your bust shaping, side back with your sleeve and your back dart shaping. The back upper piece that connects to here, just to there, and then has gathers that gather into the lower back piece, which has the zipper, as you can see. It's really hard to tell, but that's those outlines there show that there is a zipper center back. Some gathering, which I might have already said, but I wasn't paying attention. And then our circle skirt pattern. So this would be a full circle, doing it on the fold. If you wanted to add more flare, you'd have to do a little bit more math, which could be done if you did not the same, not doubling the circle skirt waistline length, width, whatever, and just doing 2 full circles of the same waistline and then gathering it into this. You can get a ridiculously full skirt, which this could be that, because a lot of times these would be supported by a petticoat, a big fluffy petticoat. And so to get this full shape with the petticoat underneath, you're going to need a lot of fabric under here. And this has a lot of flare cones, and that's what a teacher once told me that these are called. When you get this sort of inside curve, inside curve, this outside curve is a flare cone. Anyway, so that was a lot faster than I usually do, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, help a friend out, and you know, if you have any suggestions, I'm always open. Please send me an email, send me a picture, do something. I want to know what you want to see drafted. So until next week,